Dr. N. Asokan, Professor and Head of the Department of Physics. He was a former Director, Dean and Principal of leading educational institutions in Tamil Nadu, India. He has published a book in 2020 titled A Textbook on Higher Order Cognitive Abilities and also an e-book on Concept 3 in 2021. And the topic the doctor is going to present is on Educational Leaders Preparedness for Agile Environment. Thank you, Doctor, for your availability. Over to you.
Very good afternoon and very good evening to one and all present here. I am very thankful to organizers, decision makers of this international 9th Texila International Conference for this Scholars 2023. So my topic is Educational Leaders Preparedness for Agile Environment. For next 30 to 40 minutes, I would like to discuss on I'll just describe what is this Agile Environment, what is the purpose-driven leadership, and what's the difference between when setting the goals, what's the difference between these performance goals and learning goals. And when set the goal based upon the individual strength, we call the strength-based goals, we'll discuss on that. And what are the areas today's educational leaders want to prepare themselves to run any educational institution to be to the next generation. We call it as these are the areas called how to attain the personal mastery and how to work with others first mindset. And there we have the 4 different mindset called fixed mindset, growth mindset, service mindset. Then we go to the 4th level, others first mindset. And what's the energy level the leaders having this for the whole day? That high energy level is one of the important requirement. And how we are going to boil down this complexity to the simplicity. And what is the concept about this discipline, self-discipline, and highest level, we call it as a fanatic discipline. And we want to talk about this agile environment. Now this lifelong learning has become this learning agility. What is that? And 5 different learning agilities, we'll discuss on it. And very important, after this pandemic, people always talk about this resilience, is how this resilience, what are the 3 important areas which get affects this resilience? What are the 3 areas as an educational leaders we want to improve upon our resilience to come back to the normal positions? And as an educational leaders, yes, definitely we are in a position to at least predict the future to maximum of at least 30%. It's not possible to predict the future of 100%. At least to what extent we can able to predict the future. So that we call it as the future of literacy. And finally, we discuss about this, what is the data is now this data-driven economy we are living in, that how the data important is that, and again this technology-driven environment we are living on. That we want to give these some glimpses about what is technology, how we are going to use on that. And finally, yes, we want to revisit, rethink, and rediscover our purpose on that. So these are the overview of my discussion for next 30 to 40 minutes. So just describing what is this today's agile environment. People know about that starting from the globalization in the late 90s. Even before this pandemic, a lot of changes happening. These people call this VUCA world. And of course, pandemic is creating again a lot of chaos on that. Post-pandemic, again, these are the situations we continuously the changing environment, we call it as this agile environment. And because of these, they are continuously changing. We come to some conclusion. Yes, uncertainty is permanent. So certainty is not the permanent, is uncertainty is permanent, and instability is chronic, and change is continuously accelerating, and change is very rapid, and even in front of our eyes the change is happening on that. And disruption is very common. So we can't blame anybody on that. And of course, industry disruption, we can have this based upon 3 major criteria is already happening on that. First one is this, how this, our educational system, I call it as educational business, outgrows its business model. The business model, one of these business school director, this Loyola College business school director says that we move from a pipeline model to the platform model. We move from pipeline model to platform model. If you closely observe a different business all over the world, continuously the business model has changed, as like Zomato or Uber is coming after that. So now these or otherwise this our business or service or product may not be no longer appealing to its customer base, or so yeah, many of the things the technology has pushed out of relevance. So these are all the three major categories. Any industry is getting disturbed. And you know that in was 2014, this VUCA environment is created that and to counter this VUCA, this in 2020, this sorry, this VUCA Prime scheme has created to counterattack this VUCA environment, likely from volatility to vision, how we converted into uncertainty, into the deep understanding, how this complexity we can able to make it the clarity even in the most highly complex situations, how we are going to convert this ambiguity into this agility. So this is what, so these are the three areas. This is the agile environment is there, right? So how we are going to sail through this even in the future on that, this is what we want to discuss upon that. So coming to this educational institution that I call it as this leaders at every level. I'm not, let us not define leaders mean only at the higher level of the positions, like the head of the department, or director, principals, head of the institutions, or no, not like that. So every teacher is a leader, because a leader means if you have the followers, you are the leader. So when we go to the class, definitely some 50, 60 students are following every teacher. So every teacher has a leader by default, by profession in that. Similarly, that every teacher is a leader, and every leader is a teacher. Without teaching, the leader cannot be an inspiring leader on that. So with that constant context, what are the discussion we are going to discuss about the different points and different areas where we want to prepare ourselves for the next generation of the educational institutions we want to lead. Yes, every teacher is a leader. Based upon that only this discussion is happening there, right? Now, let us start with the why. Let us start with the why. So why do we exist? Why I'm talking about this purpose, a mission. A mission is not like that simply can become the mission statement. We put it in the board and like, no, I'm not talking about that. We want to go really what is the mission is there. So how these educational leaders has to be, whether they're educational leaders are purpose-driven leadership or profit-driven leadership or anything else other than this purpose-driven or mission-driven leadership. So it's a leader's responsibility to help the people inside the organization, outside the organization, to tell about that how we are going to bring this our institution beyond these current capabilities, beyond this current infrastructure for next minimum at least 25 years or 50 years or 100 years. So the leader has the ability to visualize how I am going to bring my institution even after 100 years, it is going to be that. So it is that unless you have the clarity on purpose, why I'm doing this business, why I'm doing this position as an educational leader, that purpose is very, very important. That mission is very, very important. That's right. So purpose defines why an institution exists on that. So mission-driven leaders ingrain the why I am doing this activity and how I'm going to do the activities of what providing either whether it is a product or service on that. So purpose defines why an institution exists on that. So when it is coming to this education institution, how this Gallup is this another management consultancy, out of their own research, they given these advantages of this mission. So this mission drives a loyalty across the generations. So if the mission is having the clarity so that we can attract the right kind of people towards our organization, and this we can minimize our retention also. Mission fosters the outcome, the customer's complete engagement, actively how we can actively engage our stakeholders. And mission improves the strategic alignment, and mission brings the clarity to the inside people as well to the outside of the organization. And mission can be easily measured. So in that sense, the mission is very, very important there. So what is the education related to the purpose of the education? We do that now. So if you know this evolution of the education, there are continuously changing the purpose of education. Of course, it's mandatory on that. So do we, the education as educational leader, do we have the clarity on currently or in future, what is the purpose of education going to be that? In that sense, there are three important areas. One is this, what is the curriculum currently I have that? What is the purpose of the curriculum I'm currently having? So what is the purpose of teaching learning process I'm doing right now? And what is the purpose of assessment and evaluation rightly I'm doing that? Not only currently I'm doing that, not only today, it has to be how it's going to be evolved. What are the changes I want to bring it into this, my curriculum, teaching learning process and assessment and evaluation in the every academic year. So that is very, very important, that, right? And of course, there is a completely transformation of the leadership from yesterday to a day after tomorrow, today and day after tomorrow, like calling from this, my paycheck to my purpose, my satisfaction to my development, my boss to my coach, my annual review to my daily ongoing conversation, and my, instead of focusing on the weakness, I'm focusing on my strength. And instead of I'm saying this is my job, no, this is not my job, this is my life. So these kind of preparedness we need to have because of this agile environment. We have to do some this kind of transformation from yesterday to the day after tomorrow on that. And finally, we call it as the purpose paradox. That is the higher purpose, that beyond the current capabilities, how I'm going to take my current institution to the next 50 years or 100 years. How this IBM company, HP, Sony, Merck, these are the companies, they are continuously doing business, successfully doing business. Even their founders are no more, but how this purpose statement or purpose clarity and the mission statement is making the next generation of leaders to bring to the highest level of the business. That we call it as the purpose paradox. That. So first, the preparedness, whether these educational leaders, yes, whether I am preparing myself to find out what is my mission statement. So the concept of purpose is nuanced, highly subjective one, allowing to it exist as a ball of thread. Ball of thread means just I put it in my room, in my place, in my call, in my institution, that only this is my mission statement. Instead of that, can I make the thread together to set a beautiful pearls in the choice to make it. So instead of simply keep it in the mission statement in somewhere else, whether I'm really working on it, that matters a lot, right? So what is your why? So why we need to discover your purpose, why I'm doing this activity. That rediscovering my why, rediscovering my purpose is very, very important. That so even if you do not know what is my why, this is the right time to decide. I have to prepare myself to find out what is my why. So if I find why I'm doing this particular activity, I may get one answer. Again, I had to ask that question and that answer. Second time, I have to ask the why. Third time, I have to ask the why, the answers. So 7 times I have to ask why, the answers of each why. Then at the end of the 7th time, definitely I'll find out that my real purpose, my real mission, why I'm doing this activity. This is one thing. So next I'm talking about the vision. Yes, vision, people have this why, what I want to create next 1 year, because beyond 1 year, it's not advisable to visualize. It is not advisable to dream, because a lot of change is happening in this agile environment. It's better to have this, what I want to create with the next academic year, what I want to create, that's 1 year is there. So that is, everybody knows that. But what I want to emphasize here is that the current reality. So we need to focus on the current reality is very, very important. That so I may have the ability to deal with, accept it, to face the brutality of the truth, the fact. Can I have the ability to differentiate between the fact and from the opinion, and from this brutality of the truth? So yeah, I have to prepare myself to face the brutality of the truth. Then I have to come across that. Then I have to find out what is the current reality. So unless we fix this current reality in the exact manner, complete understanding about the current reality, whatever the activities we built upon that to achieve the vision, it's very difficult to achieve that, because the starting point or our assumption of any activity to achieve our vision should be on the right stage, or should be at the right level. So in that sense, this observing and clearly understanding, observing the current reality is very, very important. So do we have the ability to, or do we prepare ourselves to currently assess what is the current reality is more important that. And of course, core values. So next, the core values are the very, very important. It uses to make the decision making on day-to-day basis. So every employer, every faculty members, every teacher in educational institutions, we want to take the decisions at their level. On what basis we want to take the well-informed educational decisions based upon the core values. So what are the core values we want to practice? Because the core value, based upon the core value only, we want to take the decisions at every level. This core value will create the culture of the organization. So to develop what is the right kind of culture we want to create it. So we want to create the learning organization, learning culture, we want to create it. So to create the learning organization, to create the learning culture, what are the core values we want to practice among our stakeholders? That's another important thing we want to focus on it. And finally, that as per these missions and vision and core values, the synchronization and mapping is very, very important. So what is that? So unless you map or synchronize your purpose statement with what you want to create for every 1 year, what is the on day-to-day basis, what you want to create, the culture you want to create, all these should be aligned with each other. If there is a mismatch is there, then it's very difficult we can't achieve whatever you want to create within the next one academic year. It's very difficult to achieve the mission. So the synchronization, mapping of your purpose statement and vision and core values and culture is very, very important. How we are going to prepare that? How are we preparing ourselves? This is the right direction we want to do that. And coming to from this vision to the on day-to-day basis, we want to, many of the times we talk about the goal setting is there. So goal setting, most of the time we focus only on the performance goals. So now let us want to change from setting the performance goal to the learning goals, because performance goals only to demonstrate, there will not be no development on that. So learning goal will help you to individuals development growth is there. Performance goals, once you achieve the performance, the learning will be stopped. Whereas if you fix the learning goal, it's continuously learning will happening on that. So these are so when we fix this goal setting, we have to focus on the learning goal, not on the performance goals. When coming to this department wise or the institution wise, what are all the learning goals we want to fix it up? So these are the areas we have to focus on that. When coming to the goal setting for the individuals, so individuals having this competency, we can talk about this in terms of knowledge, skill, talent, attitude, technology, mindset, all this is combination of that. We'll discuss on that. But when coming to this goal setting, as far as the individual is concerned, we have to think about their inborn characteristics, talent. So that we call it as the strength-based goal. So it is our educational leaders' responsibility to identify what is the strength of every individuals. Based upon the every individual's strength, we have to fix the goals to achieve for them, so that individual's strength goal will be aligned with your learning goals, so that we can able to achieve wonder things. So your goal should either it is an individual goal or it's a learning goals, always should be action oriented and outcome oriented. Next, we talk about this attainment of the personal mastery. So attainment of the personal mastery is the third level. Before that, first level, we talk about develop the competency of the individuals. Second level, build and strengthen the strength of the individuals. Then third level only we can able to attain the personal mastery. So this is the next level. So how we are going to prepare our people to develop the competency with respect to the role they are playing, and how we are going to strengthen the individual people's strength, and how we are going to help the people to attain the personal mastery, the highest level on that. These are the three levels matters a lot. So personal mastery is continuously focusing and refocusing on what one truly wants on one's vision. So continuously focusing and refocusing means, if you take our educational institutions, every 1 hour, according to the timetable, definitely the change will happen. That inside the classroom, outside the classroom, inside the faculty room, inside the institution, definitely every 1 hour change will happen with respect to our timetable. It may be 50 minutes or 1 hour, right? So every 1 hour, we need to focus and refocus, which is important to me, which is significant to me, which is relevant to me. So I have to focus on it. So I have to focus. So the focusing on every 1 hour is very, very important. That we call it as the personal mastery, right? So personal mastery goes beyond this competency. And as I told that the competency is the first level. So competency is a encompass, that is a part of knowledge, part of skill, part of talent, part of technology, and part of mindset and part of attitude. So the combination of all these things only we call it as the competence. So personal mastery is the third level, but whereas the first level competency, we have to focus on developing the individual's competency in terms of knowledge, skill, talent, technology, mindset, and attitude, right? And again, this personal mastery, this again, I'm coming back to this assessing the current reality. So you want to develop this preparing every individuals to attain the personal mastery, we have the ability to develop the ability to focus on. I have the ability to differentiate between which is important to me, which is not important, which is significant, which is insignificant, which is relevant and which is irrelevant. So second, I have to act upon which is important to me, which is significant to me, and which is relevant to me. That's very, very important. That not only ability to differentiate, I have to act upon which is important to me. That we call it as the personal mastery. The second I'm talking about, again, I'm talking about we developing this ability to assess the current reality. So current reality is very, very important. That. So if you're able to assess what is the current reality, definitely you can be able to start any kind of action to achieve whatever you want in that. So that we call it as the personal mastery. So personal mastery must be a discipline, right? So people with high levels of personal mastery are highly committed and they take self-initiative. We need not instruct them, we need not to follow them, and they have a broader and deeper sense of responsibility about their role and responsibility, and they learn very faster. So these are the characteristics of the people with the personal mastery. So it is a responsibility of every individual to attain the personal mastery over the period of time to sail through this agile environment. Next one is the mindset. So mindset is the way people think about their ability. So what I am thinking about my ability, that I call it as a mindset, right? So that really counts upon that, right? So there are two types. Basically, there are two types of mindset. That's one is this fixed mindset and growth mindset is there. So what is a fixed mindset? Mindset people always very active in terms of their neurons in their brain whenever we talk about their achievements. So when you talk about the achievements, that time only the fixed mindset people, neurons will be very active in the brain. So whereas when you talk about this growth mindset people, when you discuss about that, how we can able to improve when you do the same thing in the next time, that time only their brains, the neurons in the brain, they will be active, very active. So people always will be happy about what they did, fixed mindset people, whereas growth mindset people always think about how I can do better next time. So these are basically two sides of mindset, fixed mindset and growth mindset. The good news is that everybody can able to change their mindset, right? So whenever you do the activity that when you find it difficult or when you are not able to achieve something on that, just think about whether we have the fixed mindset or growth mindset, so that you can easily change the mindset. There is a good news about that. There is no people, these set of people have permanently fixed mindset. These set of people permanently having growth mindset. Not like that. So anybody can change the mindset. Easily they can able to change the mindset. Only thing, they should have the awareness. Yes, with respect to this particular activity, do I have the fixed mindset so that I am not able to perform better? If I want to perform better, yes, I have to change my mindset. So that is very important. It's a very simple story all over the world in all the races, the religions, countries. The story is there. The race between this hare and tortoise is there. So that hare has this fixed mindset. It believes that its innate ability only it's always been whenever he wanted to have the race. Whereas the tortoise has this growth mindset. It never afraid of the course of this race course or something like that. It always thinks that if you repeatedly put hard work and effort, definitely I can win the race. This is the mindset of the tortoise. That is why when every time this hare is calling for the race, this tortoise never never escape from the race. It's always ready because it believes strongly about that. If I put a lot of effort and hard work, definitely I can able to achieve. So this is the difference between the fixed mindset and growth mindset, basically. Now, when coming to this agile mindset, we have to go for the next level of the mindset. So what is called that? The service mindset. So how it is our responsibility to develop the service mindset, because service, this education industry is a service industry. So we need to develop the service mindset. Service mindset people will always focusing on how to create the value, loyalty, and trust among the stakeholders. So this agile environment, we are living in the low trust world. We are living in the believability crisis. So it is the responsibility to create the trust among these stakeholders is one of the very, very important thing. How we are going to create the trust among the stakeholders, how we are going to create the value for the service we are going to produce, service we are providing to the stakeholders. So only service mindset only will create on it. So this is third level of mindset is there. And fourth mindset is the highest level of mindset is others first mindset. So when I always focusing on how I can help other people, what is their priority, instead of looking on my priority of the work on every day, if I start working on others' priority of the work, so whenever, which means that I'm always available to help the people, I'm always available to support everybody's goal they want to achieve. That we call it as others first mindset. So we need to develop in this agile environment the service mindset or the others first mindset. Okay. So instead of asking the questions, what can I get, you have to ask, what can I offer to you? How I can help you? If you start working on that, amazing things will happen that I'm experiencing, I'm currently experiencing on that. Just you try, you experience it, then amazing things will happen on that. Okay. So any situation you can easily sail through on that. Again, people talking about the technologies. I don't want to talk about any particular technology on that. I want to give the only two important things about the technologies. That, as we know that technologies were originally used to connect a business in the internal process. After the introduction of this World Wide Web or internet, now this technology connecting the people with the business. Now, one thing you have to make it very sure that now this technology connecting the people and all the things in the world, right? So one thing we need to keep it in mind always, that when thumb rule is that the technology only will increase the speed of the activity what we do. Technology only will speed up the process what the human being do, unimaginable speed. But technology will never change A into B. Technology will never change A into B. So these are 2 points you have to keep it in always mind, right? Now, what is this? I put it in 3 categories depending upon our infrastructure, facilities, financial background, whether I'm using to solve today's problem with the yesterday's technology, or I'm solving today's problem with the today's technology, or I'm solving today's problem with the tomorrow's technology. So now we have to decide purely based upon your infrastructure facilities available and your financial status on that. So just categorize the technology, yesterday's technology, today's technology, and tomorrow's technology. What are the feasible thing you can able to apply on that? But before applying the technology, have the clarity on that. So technology can be an accelerator, not a creator of momentum. Technology as an accelerator, which increases the speed of the process, right? Now, the real question is that, so what is the, instead of asking the what is the role of technology, how an individual, how an organization think about the technology? That's very, very important about that, right? So unless you completely understand any particular technology before implementing it, don't implement it, because if you do not completely understand how the technology will help our activities, teaching, learning process, anything on that, if you don't understand completely, it definitely backfires. It definitely will backfire us. So before implementing any technology, please have a complete idea about what is the pros and cons, what is the advantages, disadvantages, all these things, have a complete understanding, then employ any technology in your day-to-day activities on that. So please keep it in again mind that no technology can turn the wrong people into right people. No technology can create the culture of discipline. No technology can create the culture of learning organization. right? It's only human has to create on that. So technology will help us. Technology can travel. We can travel along with the technology, but we need to be decide which technology we want to use it for to achieve our purpose. Next is this, what is your energy level? So if you start from this morning 8 o'clock, your work, it starts day by 8 o'clock, evening until 8 p.m. in the evening, 12 hours or 14 hours, we are working on that. So what is the energy level we are bringing to the institution, we are bringing to the classrooms? What is the energy level we are bringing to our workplace? That matters a lot. So the energy levels brings this impression of increase for all their followers. So throughout the day, we must have the energy levels. So energy level is a vibration. It transfers from one person to another person. Definitely that. If I have the high energy level, definitely I can able to pass my energy level to the people having the low energy levels. So that energy level is very, very important. That. So what is your energy level at the end of the day? It matters a lot. Next one is that understanding the complexities. So if you say this education is a highly complex, we do not know how many variables are involved in our education system that. So now we have to be clearly understand try to understand how many variables are there. Out of this number of variables, how many variables under our control? So we need to focus on the variables under our control only, so that we can able to do any manipulations, any alterations to achieve our purpose. So the variables which is not under our control, we need not worry about that, because it's not under our control. We can't do anything on that. So whatever the things it happens, according to that, we have to change ourselves. That's what I'm talking about that, right? So interconnectivity between the variables, we need to understand very clearly. So what is the relationship between this teaching learning process and evaluation? So what is the interconnectivity between the teaching and research? So what is the interconnectivity between the admission process and placement? So we need to understand the interconnectivity between the different variables. That's very, very important. That we call it as the complexity. So the integration of autonomous variables, not only the integrations, if I change any small changes in one variable, how it will affect the other variables, the one first level. If I change any change in one variable, how it affect the entire system. That's the second level. So that I call it as the cause and effect. So unless we understand how many variables are there, the interconnectivity between the different variables, how I change small changes happening in one variable, how it will affect the other variables, how it affect the entire system, is very, very easy. It's one of the very important. Understanding the complexity is one of the important characteristics we need to understand, develop it, right? Now, the quest for simplicity that. So what is the role of leaders, educational leaders, dealing with the complexity? So unless I understand the highly complex system, now it's my responsibility as education leader to boil down to simplicity. That. So how much simple I can able to make it as simple as possible, not simpler, as simple as possible, right? So I have to prepare myself to convert this complexity into simplicity. That's one of the key area we need to focus on it, right? And the enemy of the simplicity is not complexity. So complexity and simplicity is not an enemy to each other or opposite to each other. For simplicity as well as the complexity, the opposite is disorder, messiness. How we can minimize this disorder is one of the important characteristics are prepared. The education leaders has to prepare themselves to reduce that disorder, to deal with the complexity, right? So simplicity means finding the core. So simplicity does not mean dumping down. It means choosing, which is important, finding the core, right? The process of prioritization is the heart of simplicity, which is first, what is the top three priority, today's priorities there, right? So the simplicity is very, very, another area we need to develop so that we can able to sail through any of the agile environment, any change environment is there. Next, I'm talking about the discipline. The discipline to practice a discipline is to be a lifelong self-learner, is there, right? You spend your life mastering the disciplines. This is the first level. So discipline is the first level. The second level I'm talking about is what is a self-discipline. So self-discipline is a conscious practice of my controls, habits, restraints imposed by oneself on me and demanded by the profession, not by anybody else. Not by anybody else. So people, if any the discipline is imposed by somebody else, means that will become as rules, regulations, guidelines like that. So I'm not talking about the rules, regulations, guidelines. I'm talking about the discipline. Self-discipline means I am imposing on myself. So my profession demands that I want to achieve my purpose. So to achieve my purpose, what are the controls? What are the habits I want to develop? I want to do that. That I call it as a self-discipline, right? This is second level of discipline. And third level, yes, we want to prepare every individuals go for the fanatic discipline, fanatic discipline, right? So what fanatic discipline is not this hierarchical obedience, not adherence to bureaucratic, not measurement, not like that. It is do we have this inner will to create the greater outcome, no matter how it is difficult? So, do I have the consistency of my action with the core values with the to achieve my purpose? So, consistency of actions with my core values to achieve my purpose. That we call it as a fanatic discipline. No bias, no fear, no blame. Yes, no difficulties. I don't bother about the difficulties. Yes, I want to achieve my purpose through my core values. What is the action today I want to take it up? That we call it as a fanatic discipline. So we have to prepare, slowly move from this discipline to self-discipline to the fanatic discipline. If you develop the fanatic discipline over the period of time, so any amount of change is happening in this environment, in the world, you can easily sail through it. No doubt about it. And coming, this is learning agility. So people talk about the long time about this lifelong learning. So next level of this lifelong learning, we call it as a learning agility. So when I come to the workplace, there's a new problem is coming up. So quickly, I understand what is the today's problem in the morning. Quickly, how fast I can able to collect the relevant data, and how quickly I can able to analyze the data, how quickly I'm able to give the direction, decisions to implement on that. That we call it as agility or agile. So that we call it as a learning agility. So even after the pandemic, if I come across a situation during the immediately after the pandemics, on and off students, we call the students to the campus. Sometimes we don't call the students. It was on and off. So when the students coming to the campus as well as to these faculty members, when the college starts by 9 o'clock, we do not know how many faculties come, how many students coming to today. So 9 o'clock, 8:50 or 8:45, we assemble, we see that how many faculties has come today and how many students are coming, how many classes are there. Immediately within 10-15 minutes, we assess the data, how many students comes, how many faculties come, how many classes we are going to handle today. So we immediately put on this timetable, and within 15 minutes, within maximum of 20 minutes, we deliver the timetable, we start working, the classes starts that. So it has been done every day for more than 3 weeks, we did it. That we call it as a learning agility. So we do not know how many faculty students coming to the campus. So within maximum of 15 to 20 minutes, we collect the data, how many students come, how many faculty comes, how many classes we are going to run today. We prepare the timetable, we communicate it to the students and faculty. So next another half an hour, regular class starts. That we call it as learning agility, right? So there are 5 types of characteristics about this learning agility is there. So one is the mental agility, how comfortable I'm able to deal with the complexity. So minimum complexity, medium complexity, high complexity. So how my cognitive thinking will be help me. How much metacognitive knowledge I have to deal with the complexity. How much metacognitive knowledge I have to deal with my self-awareness. So what is my strength? What is my weakness? Where I can able to focus, strengthen my strength. What are my people's strength and weakness? How I can maximum use of their strength to get my purpose. So second one is the people agilities. How effectively I can able to communicate with the diverse kind of people on that. So do I have to understand the different diversity of the people, how they think, how they communicate, what's the kind of language, what's the kind of vocabulary they use, whether I can able to use the right kind of choice of words to communicate with them. That we call, by understanding the people, that we call it as the people agility. Then change agility. Yes, I told you that every 1 hour, this according to our timetable, the change is happening. That so how I am prepared myself to sail through the changes every 1 hour change is happening. That the next is the results agility. Results agility is that how many activities I can able to produce the result first time right. First time right. These are all we call it as the 5 different characteristics of the learning agility. Next is the feature of literacy. So as I told you that how I can able to, as an educational leader, I have to predict the future. Future means tomorrow, day after tomorrow, or maybe 1 month, next semester, next academic year, right? So if I want to predict them, I can't predict 100%. I can able to predict at least 25 to 30%. I want to predict it. Then only I can able to plan today. So if I want to predict 25 to 30%, first, I should be master in the history of that particular activities, the past history. So, for example, if you take this admission process, so how this admission process happening over the period of time in the past? How this admission process, evolution of this admission process? For example, if you take the placement activities, how in the past, where the placement activity started, how it was evolved, or the history I should be mastered about the history about the particular activity. This is one aspect. Second aspect, but the same activity, whether it is admission or placement activities, what is the current situation is going on? Again, I am talking about the current reality. So this is the third time I'm talking about the current reality. So how this currently the placement or admission process, for example, is happening in my institution, happening in other institutions all over the world. So I have to be alert. I have to get the data, what is happening in and around the world. So based upon my the history, knowledge of the history, how the particular activity has been evolved, what is happening right now around the world, based on combination of these two, I can able to predict what will happen on day after tomorrow. I can able to predict the 25 to 30%, so that I can able to plan today to face the tomorrow. So this we call it as the future of literacy. So we need to prepare the people to completely understand the history of any activity, whether it is a curriculum formation, teaching learning process, assessment, admission, placement, any activity you do, we must know first about the complete history about it, how it is, where it is started, how it was evolved. Then second one is what is happening currently all over the world. Then only I can able to do a feature on that. We call it as the feature of literacy. The change. So change has already changed. It's a very big topic. We can't discuss because already we are undergoing every day, every 1 minute. So the program starts maybe around 25 minutes or 30 minutes before. So 25 minutes, 30 minutes before, our age was something as that. Currently, the current moment, our age has been changed. So every minute, every second, the change is happening on that. So the today's world is very different from the last year. We can't say even 3 years or 5 years. So the today's world is very different from last year. So after 2 years or 3 years, you can say that this semester is totally different from last semester. So this academic year is totally different from last academic year. Don't talk about academic year, talk about the semester. This semester is totally different from last semester. So what I want to emphasize is if you start the academic year, if you start the semester, we have some plans. So with that plan, we definitely start that. During the implementation, during the semester, we are forced to do a lot of changes towards the improvement, towards achieving the purpose. So every day we must be prepared. What are the right kind of changes we want to do? Changes in our in our day-to-day activities. That's why I put the word change as changed, right? And realize this is how this. What are the changes? Of course, this the loss. Every activities, every area, the change is happening right from the innovate for change, create for change, vision for change, skill for change, technology for change. All activities, what activity we are doing, everything, the change is happening continuously on that. So how we are going to prepare ourselves when change is happening, how many people are ready to accept the change, how many people are waiting for the change has to happen, then they change. How many people in our organization, they don't want to change. This is very, very critical area to manage the situations. How we are going to prepare ourselves to face the change, right? So every day, if you start facing the changes happening on that, now we have to achieve the status, achieve the level where we call it as the homeostasis, that do we have these attain the state of, that is the ability to maintain conditions for survival in a continuously changing environment. See, any change is happening, no problem. I am already prepared. I can able to change immediately. So that kind of conditions we need to reach, that we call it as the status of homeostasis. So this we have to prepare every of individuals in organization to that level. Coming to this opportunity, attitudes. So attitude, we have different definitions. Now there is a new definition coming up. The attitude is that whether I am as an educational leaders, I can't implement my idea alone. I have to be openness to new ideas. It doesn't bother about where the idea is coming up. We should not bother about, we should not worry about who is bringing the ideas. So any ideas, we have to welcome the idea. We have to have the debate and discussion about that idea. Then we have to, whether it is feasible, definitely we have to implement on it. So do we have the create the space and time? Do we create the atmosphere to welcoming the ideas from different nook and corner of the people? That's very, very important, that kind of attitude we need to prepare. And do we have the eagerness to listen? So listen means we need to focus on, we have to give the undivided attention to the incoming relevant information. Undivided attention to the incoming relevant information. That we call it as the listen. Right? We have to prepare ourselves. Then do we have the desire to grow and development? That has to be there. That is called the attitude. Again, this attitude related to your mindset, right? And do we have this flexibility to change? As I told that every 1 hour is getting changes, that do I have to prepare myself to be flexible. These are the things we call it as the attitude, right? And yes, after this pandemic, we're talking about the resilience. So do we have the ability, or we practice the ability to maintain, regain this mental well-being when facing the adversity? So there are, we're talking about this 3 areas we can talk about this, our resilience traits, characteristics. So one is the self-esteem, how we value ourselves when we have the setbacks, and psychological flexibility, able to switch our focus from painful feelings to learning goals or performance goals. And again, third one is emotional regulations. So our ability to tolerate and manage the upset feelings. These are the 3 important areas, the parts of the characteristics of the resilience. If you aware of these 3 areas, we can micro level focus it so that we can able to prepare ourselves any adversity is coming up, any setback is coming up. Now, how to overcome this resilience? So any one of the 3 areas is getting affected. So one thing is, yes, get moving. So physical exercise will get you out of this resilience. Physical exercise, get moved. Second one is write down your blessings. What are the 3 things you are grateful for yesterday or today? So count your blessings. So write down the important 3 important blessings you have today, that so that you feel that you can change your mindset from setback to this. Yes, I have these are blessings I have. Please put it in writing in the paper. Or if you find it difficult, you reach out to your friends and family, share your feelings with them. You understand that who are all, please identify who are all the people, or mentors, or coach, or counselors, or to whom you are comfortable with, so that you can be able to share your feelings, so that after sharing with them, you feel something relaxed. So please identify who are the people that, so that this is very important to come across this resilience, right? Second, next one is this, the information gathering. So in today's this information gathering is very, very important. That so what is this information which individuals remain in their own respective expertise area, where they're attending this professional training, conferences, seeking informations related to what is happening in and around the world, related to our business, that we call it as information gathering. So while information gathering, we have to be very careful about the distractions. So if you go Google something on that, definitely it leads to somewhere it. So now the new definition people talking about this, how do you take care of your self-care? Blocking, muting, deleting, and unfollowing is your self-care. That's what people now define that. So we have to be very careful about the distraction is that while collecting the information. So information gathering, related information gathering, we have to be very careful about how we are going to distract The next one is the data. So it's definitely it's a data-driven economy is going on. We're doing that. How we are preparing for this data-driven economy. So when coming to the data, what are the different sources of data we had to prepare ourselves to identify different sources of the data? Not only that, how we are going to collect the data from the different sources. Yes, we need to work out, we have to think about the strategies and where we are going to store these data, how we are going to handle the data, how we are going to differentiate between the fake from the reality, and how we are going to from the data, what are the different kind of reports we are going to generate, how we are going to connecting the data, connecting the dots. That is very, very important. That instead of it doesn't have meaning at all unless you have the connecting the different data. So who are the people accountable for sourcing the data, collection the data, storage, handling that, connecting the data? These are the things we have to think about. We need to prepare ourselves while handling the data. So data handling in the data-driven economy is one of the highest area we need to focus. We need to prepare ourselves to handle it. And again, finally we'll talk about this preparing these educational leaders towards this agile environment is reading habits. Reading habits matters a lot. So read at every weight, read at all hours, read whenever you find time, read with the listeners. So Cicero is this one of these critics in this first century. We are living in the 21st century. Even at the first century, this is a Greek educationist called Cicero till that the task of the educated mind is simply put it in read to lead. So if you want to lead, read daily. If you want to read, you have to read, you have to develop. We need to prepare this. If you don't have the reading habit so far, now we have to start the reading habit immediately. So now coming to this, all this preparing this in the agile environment. Now we need to revisit, rethink, rediscover our assumptions, our thought process, and our belief system. When again we're talking about this, every time we need to revisit, rethink, rediscover. So what is the belief system I have? So I have with respect to attendance, students' attendance. So students' attendance, we have this. I mean, I believe all over the world, this attendance is compulsory for minimum 70% attendance. Students' attendance is compulsory. So that is a belief system. We have that. When coming to this agile environment, this is digital learning, blended learning, flipped classroom, all these things. We need to again rethink whether the 70% attendance is mandatory. So, for example, I'm talking about that. So, what is the assumption? What is the assumption we have that when students going from one semester to another semester, for example, third semester to fourth semester, students are going there. We have the assumption that when students coming to fourth semester, we have the assumption that all the 3 lower semester, all students are clear the papers. With that assumption only, we are starting the fourth semester. But is it true? No, we do not know that. So we have to rethink, revisit our assumption, thought process, beliefs. That is the one thing I want to conclude it, right? Not only that, out of my own experience after this globalization, VUCA world, and pandemic, and this prime VUCA, all these things, and even right now this agile environment, I learned that yes, I want to restart from zero every time. So any activity, if I'm not able to achieve, if I'm not able to go to whatever the level of performance I'm expecting to reach that performance, which means that I have to restart from zero every time. So the restart from the zero, I want to connect with current reality is the zero. So 3 times I repeated in my different conversations, assess the current reality exactly. So I always want to assess the current reality as the zero. From the zero, I want to restart for every activity and every time I want to do that. This is what I want to conclude, to face the new phase of education, reflecting, reviewing, revisioning, restart from zero every time. Current reality is zero. So these are my references. What was the discussion we discussed for the last 30 minutes? These are the references I covered that. So thank you very much. Any questions? I love to answer it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for your wonderful presentation. It was the best presentation, and we're open for question and answers. So participants can post your questions either through the chat box or you can raise your hand, you will be permitted to speak. So we have Professor waiting to answer your questions. Participants can take part in the Q&A also. So Professor will be able to answer your questions.
Okay, good morning, Professor. Good day, Professor. I want to say thank you so much for this teaching. Like, I think it's very timely, and also it's not something that you easily see around, being presented everywhere. So I don't know who made the choice for this presentation, but I really want to applaud the person for this. There's so many things that we need in the working environment, and sometimes we're asking, how should this be done? We really don't have an answer. So sometimes we introduce things like having so much meetings, weekly meetings, but you still see that there's an issue, because in the meetings, you're like, okay, everybody voice what the issue is. You're trying to solve the issues, but the environment is still the same way. So, and that's why I'm happy for this, because it's going to help me make a change. Recently, I've really been thinking, sometimes the culture, you said it rightly, the culture of my working place, I find out that even as we work, sometimes you have some people who are not really giving in their best into the work. And in trying to find out why, you might be hearing things like, okay, because of this, because of that, and trying to solve it's not working. Then you have recruitment of new people, and you're like, okay, I want to recruit very agile people who will change this environment. They come into the place. After 2-3 months, they continue with the culture. Everybody becomes the same. And you're wondering, like, this person, when he came newly, was very different. Now he has taken up to that. So my question to you now is, how will us now, in an environment where we already have a culture we are not proud of, that is already going on, it's not a new office where you say, okay, let me institute a culture. How do we change the culture of this environment so that these old people can become a lot responsible and responsive? And when they get we get new people, they don't meet an environment where they also derail into that environment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. See, it's a responsibility of the leadership, the people in the leadership position. They have to visualize, envision what is happening in the world. If we do not change our culture to match these changes happening in the world, what would be the impact we can be able to have this? This is what people talking about when we're talking about this. IBM company was there in the, when this transformation happening in the IBM with this mainframe to this mainframe business all over the world, they are the monopoly. So when this Gessner Jr. was taking over the CEO of the company of IBM company, he had a tough time to change the mindset of the people. The same question what you're asking, he underwent that. There is a book called this, Who Says Elephant Do Not Dance? Please go through that book, you can be able to go in detail about that. So when this desktop system was coming all over the world, picking up the new business, even do not know, the IBM people do not know their business is under the fire. Their business under the fire. So that's Junior Gessner has clearly spelled out this. If you do not change that, we have to close the company. We don't have any job at all. So it is a responsibility of the people at the leadership level has to explain, make them to understand, not only in one conversation, you have to repeatedly do the conversation. What could be the impact? The final impact may be we have to close down our business. We lose our job. So it is, what is the future of the organization? We need to ask repeatedly about that. So future of the organization is under the hands of the individual employee. So individual employee only take the organization to the next level, not the investors. They're only the investors. So it's a responsibility of the every level people, make them to understand what is happening in the around the world, and understand if you do not change according to the changes happening in the world, we need to close the business. Ultimately, we lose the job. This is what we have to. Not only one conversation, many conversations, we have to do it.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor, for your
Thank you.
wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.